You wake to the smell of iron and soap, sharp and sterile, the kind that sits in the back of your throat and doesn't leave. The air is cold, not the kind of cold that comes through a bedroom window cracked open on an autumn night, but the institutional kind, heavy and unmoving, as though it has settled into the floorboards, the walls, the thin mattress beneath your back. You are not in your bed. You are not in your house. You know this before your eyes even open. When you do open them, the ceiling above you is high and cracked, with stains along the corners like spreading mold. The plaster is yellowed, flaking. The light is grey, not the grey of dawn, but the grey of air that has been filtered through bars and dust. You blink once, then again, and the chill on your skin sharpens into pain. Wrists that burn where rope or leather had once been, a stiff ache at the base of your neck, and the faint tremble of muscles that haven't moved in too long. You shift slightly. The blanket covering you is rough, the sort of wool that feels more like burlap than fabric. It smells faintly of urine, and underneath it, the thin mattress offers no comfort, just the unmistakable crunch of straw and dampness where no dampness should be. You try to sit, and your body answers like it belongs to someone else. Stiff, unfamiliar. Your hand rises instinctively to your throat. The fabric brushing against your skin isn't yours. A plain white cotton gown, clean but worn, cinched at the collar with a single wooden button. You look at your feet, bare, red at the toes. No slippers, no stockings. You swing your legs slowly off the bed and place your heels on the wooden floor, which is warped and cold and marked by stains you don't want to think about. The room is sparse. A chair missing one leg leans against the wall like a broken animal. There's a chamber pot in the corner, a basin on a stand, a metal mirror above it, dented and dull, barely reflecting. No window at eye level, only a small one high up on the wall, cut with iron bars, the kind designed to let in air, but not escape. The door is thick and whitewashed, swollen with layers of paint, and entirely blank except for two metal hatches. One at your eye level, one down near the floor. The hinges are on the outside. You don't know where you are, but you know enough. This is a place designed not for healing, but for containing. Your breath quickens. You stand, slow and uncertain, and cross to the door. You knock once, softly, knuckles rapping hollow against the wood. No answer. You knock again, harder this time, but the silence remains. And then a sound, footsteps, distant and uneven. You lean in, listening, heart thudding. The hatch at eye level scrapes open, and two eyes appear on the other side, flat and bloodshot. A man, middle-aged, unshaven. He looks at you without interest, like he's seen 1,000 of you and long stopped caring. "You're up," he mutters, voice low and gravelly, then slides the lower hatch open and shoves a tray through without ceremony. A tin cup sloshing with tepid water, a crust of bread, and something grey and formless in a dented bowl. Porridge, maybe, or paste. It smells faintly of salt and ash. You step back. The hatches slam shut. No explanation, no name. You return to the bed and sit on the edge. The tray remains on the floor. You're not hungry, not really. Your mouth is too dry, your stomach a knot of confusion and fear. Instead, you try to recall the last thing you remember before waking here. The parlour. Yes. The warm clink of porcelain. Your mother's voice tight, rehearsed telling someone that you'd been weeping, refusing to eat, staying in bed. "It's been weeks," she said, "since the baby." "And your husband?" Silent, looking out the window or maybe into his teacup. You tried to explain. You said it wasn't madness, it was grief. You were tired, yes, but not sick, not broken. But they didn't look at you like someone hurting. They looked at you like a burden. There was a doctor, a man with a soft voice and kind eyes. He asked you a few gentle questions you barely remember, and then there was something in your tea. Or a cloth pressed over your mouth, something sweet and chemical. Your limbs had gone heavy, and now here you are. Another sound, distant, a scream, sharp, then ragged. Female. Not a scream for help, a scream from somewhere deeper, from someone who already knows there is no help to be had. You grip the edge of the bed to keep from shaking, your fingers press into the wood. You tell yourself this is a mistake. A misunderstanding, Someone will realize you don't belong here, that you're lucid, that you've done nothing wrong. But even as you think it, the truth settles in your chest like stone. There's a file somewhere, a paper, with your name, your age, your symptoms, signed, stamped, archived. You stand again and drag the broken chair across the room to the far wall. It scrapes against the floor with a low groan. You climb it, slowly, balancing, and press your hands to the bars of the small window. The glass is dirty, but through it you can make out the edge of a courtyard, muddy earth, leafless trees, and a high perimeter wall made of grey stone. You see another woman below, barefoot in the cold, pacing a narrow path between trees. Her hair is uncombed. Her dress is torn at the shoulder. She mutters to herself. A bell rings. Somewhere outside the room, there's movement. Doors opening, orders shouted, something metal dragged, a second scream, this one abrupt, cut off too soon, the clatter of something heavy hitting the floor. Then footsteps outside your door. Then silence. You step off the chair and sit on the floor, your knees against your chest. You try to slow your breathing, but it feels like the walls are closing in. You are not mad, but here that doesn't matter. Because here no one is listening, and no one intends to. You don't know how long you've been lying there, curled against the damp wall, knees pulled in close, the blanket still damp from your own sweat, or maybe from something left behind by the woman who slept in this bed before you. Time in this place doesn't pass, it collects. It thickens in the corners like mold, hangs in the air like the smell of lye and something faintly metallic, something that gets behind your teeth and refuses to leave. You drift, or maybe you sleep, dreamless, restless. But when the sound of boots in the hallway jolts you upright, it's with the distinct and sickening awareness that something is about to happen to you, not for you. Two figures appear at your door. The slot opens without ceremony, and the older woman speaks first, her voice flat, practiced, absent of concern. "Time for your bath," she says, not like she's offering a kindness, but like she's pointing out the weather. The man beside her, tall, narrow-eyed, with a jaw that hasn't felt a smile in years, says nothing. He doesn't need to. His presence is a language of its own. You don't move, because everything in your body is telling you not to. But they enter anyway, their steps deliberate, their roles long rehearsed. You try to speak, to ask a question, to say no, to beg. But your voice stays behind your teeth, folded in the same place you've hidden the last memory of your child's face, of the room with the lace curtains, of your husband's silence in the parlor. They reach for you, not harshly, but without softness, the way one might move furniture or lift a sack of flour that must be carried regardless of whether it bursts open in their arms. You're led down a hallway that smells worse the farther you go. Not just of bleach and mildew now, but of people flesh, sickness, something spoiled and lingering. The walls here are close, too close, and your bare feet slip twice on the wet floor. You hear a scream behind a closed door. It ends abruptly, like someone shut off a valve. You keep walking because you're being walked. The bath is not a bath, it's a ritual, a stripping, a reminder. The room is tiled in dingy white, the kind that might have once looked clean, but now only amplifies the stains. In the center, a metal tub squats like an animal waiting to swallow you whole. Water steams faintly, but when you touch it, it's barely warm, lukewarm in the way of something that pretends at comfort, but offers none. The nurse gestures to your gown. "Off," she says, and though you hesitate, there is no room here for shame. Not in her eyes. Not in his. Your arms move automatically, unfastening the wooden button, letting the fabric fall to your ankles. You're naked under the sick light, and though you cover yourself, there's no illusion of dignity left. You are made to step into the tub. The water closes over your thighs with a slow, creeping chill. You gasp, but quietly. The man turns his back, not out of courtesy, but disinterest. The nurse reaches for a long-handled, brush-wooden, stiff-bristled, stained dark from years of skin and soap and begins to scrub. Hard. Without rhythm or care, she scours your arms, your shoulders, your back. The brush rakes over the healing marks on your wrists, and you flinch, not from pain, but from the realization that she doesn't notice. Or maybe she does, and doesn't care. She mutters as she works, to herself or to you, you're not sure. Something about hysteria, and too soft for this place. You try to tune her out, focus on the sound of water lapping against the metal, on the tremble in your legs, on the way your breath fogs the air in front of you. She tips a bucket over your head without warning. It's colder than the bath and it soaks your hair instantly, sending a shiver down your spine so strong it makes your teeth knock together. She steps back. "Done," she says, as if she'd just fed a dog. They don't hand you a towel, just a thin sheet, damp, coarse, full of lint that you pull around yourself, shivering. The gown they gave you is gone. A new one lies folded on a rusted tray, exactly like the last. You take it because there's no alternative. The walk back is worse than the walk there. You are wet, the fabric clinging to your spine, and you feel each pair of unseen eyes from the doors you pass. Behind one, someone is whispering a prayer in a language you don't know. Behind another, a woman is humming slow, off-key, a children's lullaby that spirals into something more like a moan. You keep walking. When they lock the door behind you again, it sounds final in a way no word ever could. You dress, slowly. The new gown is the same size, the same cut, the same sour smell. You sit on the bed because you have nowhere else to be. The tray with yesterday's food is gone. There's no replacement. Your stomach knots in protest, but you ignore it. Hunger is simple. It doesn't demand answers. You stare at the door, and you realize you've already begun to measure time by the sound of footsteps. Some are heavy, some drag, some come in pairs, some end in screams. You count them and you wait, because there is nothing else. You don't know how long you've been lying awake, staring at the same crack in the ceiling, watching light shift behind the bars of the window, dim, then sharp, then dull again, changing not like a sun that warms, but like time passing in a place that refuses to let it mean anything. You haven't eaten, you haven't spoken. You've counted the tiles on the wall and the times someone screamed on the other side of your door, and the moments when the hallway was so quiet you thought the world outside had ended. Your muscles ache in places you didn't know could ache. You feel like your skin is tightening from the inside, like your thoughts are being pulled through a sieve slower, thinner. So when the door opens again, you don't flinch. Not because you're calm, but because some piece of you has folded itself inward, and it would take too much effort now to unfold it again. A woman enters. Younger than the others, maybe 30, maybe younger, but her face is already set in that expressionless way that comes from routine and disinterest. She says only 4 words, and says them like she said them 100 times already this morning. Time for calming treatment. You don't know what that means, and when you don't move right away, she repeats it, her voice as even as before, not threatening, not kind, just tired. She steps aside. Someone else is behind her, a man. You've never seen him before, but his coat is neater than the others, and he wears small, perfectly round spectacles with wire-thin rims that make his eyes look like coins. He doesn't speak to you. He doesn't need to. You rise slowly, not because they're forcing you yet, but because you know that if you resist, it won't matter. You've been here long enough to see that choice is something given for form, not for meaning. The hallway they take you down is quieter than yesterday, but it smells worse. There's something sour in the air today, beneath the usual layers of bleach and boiled fabric. One of the doors you pass has been marked with a chalk X. Another is cracked open just enough to see a figure inside, unmoving, wrapped in something white that covers their arms. No one looks at you. No one speaks. The room they bring you to is small, windowless, white. At the center of the floor, bolted down, is a wooden chair. It's high-backed, polished smooth in places where many bodies have sat, and fitted with 4 wide leather straps, wrists, ankles, across the chest, across the thighs. It looks like a chair meant to teach someone not to move. You stop walking. The woman moves ahead of you, checks the buckles, wipes the seat with a cloth that's already stained, and steps back. The man steps forward now. He opens a small notebook, makes a mark with his pencil, then glances at you without lifting his head. "Sit," he says. It's not an order, it's not a request, it's just what's next. You hesitate, not out of defiance but instinct, like a deer smelling smoke. You try to speak, to ask why, to ask how long, to say anything that would make you reel in their eyes, but your throat tightens, dry and sour, and your lips only part around silence. So you sit. The straps come next. efficient and practiced. The woman does them in order, and though she doesn't pull hard, each one closes with the slow final sound of leather pressed into metal. The one across your chest makes it harder to breathe, not impossible, just noticeable. Like someone pressing down with their palm and waiting for your lungs to give up. The man stands to your side now, behind your shoulder. Resting restraint, he says, more to the notebook than to you. To reduce agitation, indicated after initial bath resistance. Subject appears lucid, but withdrawn. You turn your head as far as the strap will allow, which is only a little. You try to meet his eyes, but he's already writing again. Time, 30 minutes. The woman nods and leaves. He follows. The door closes, the latch clicks, and you are alone. The first 10 minutes, or what you guess is 10, are bearable. You try to adjust your weight to test how much you can move. The answer is not much. Your legs are numb within minutes. The muscles in your back begin to tremble from being held in one position, but it isn't the physical discomfort that begins to gnaw at you. It's the silence, not the absence of sound, but the intentional kind. The kind designed to erase. You begin to count your breath because it's the only thing you have left that's yours. You try to remember the names of your teachers, the smell of ink on your father's ledger, the sound of your child breathing, but every image arrives blurry at the edges like something underwater. Your shoulders begin to cramp. Your head falls forward and stays there because it's too hard to lift it again. When the door finally opens, it's like someone's turned on a light inside your skull. The same woman returns. She doesn't ask how you are. She doesn't speak at all. She releases the straps one by one. You don't thank her. You stand when she tells you to. You walk when she tells you to. And when you lie down in the bed again, later, your arms curled tight around your ribs, you finally cry. Not because of pain or fear or injustice, but because you begin to understand something new. If they do this often enough, you'll stop asking why. You'll forget what questions feel like in your mouth. And someday, someone will come to see you, a student or a nurse, or someone who just wants to look, and they will write on their little form. Patient sits quietly, calm, passive, improved, and they will think it means you're healing. You wake not to sound, but to a silence that presses against the insides of your ears, as if your own body has gone still trying to listen for something. It's morning, or what passes for it in this place. There is no sun, only that dim, institutional light greenish, sour, filtered through dirty glass and iron bars high above you. It paints everything the color of old soap and waxed bone. You sit up slowly, joints stiff, gown sticking to the back of your legs. The air bites, not with cold, but with mildew and something faintly metallic, like dried blood in a copper cup. The room hasn't changed, but you have. You feel it in the way your breath comes, small, cautious, measured, like you've begun to make space for this place inside your body without meaning to. The door opens before you finish standing. No knock, no name, just the nurse with the graying braid and the red-rimmed eyes. She doesn't greet you. Doesn't explain, just jerks her chin toward the hallway and waits. You follow because that's what you do now. There's no defiance left this early, not before food, not before thought. The floor is slick in places and peels in others, warped boards bubbling up near the seams. You count them. It gives your brain something to do. 10 to the turn, 14 to the staircase, 7 down. You stop counting when you hear the crying. It's not loud. It's not even coming from someone close. It's just steady. Like a draft in the walls, low and constant, someone letting sound leak from their body because they've forgotten how to hold it in. You pass the sound without reacting. That, too, is part of the unspoken code here. Don't look, don't ask, don't listen. You're led into a larger room today, a kind of hall. High ceiling, paint flaking from the beams. It might have once been a church or a meeting room, but now the benches are nailed to the floor in crooked rows, and the walls bear only hooks where things used to hang portraits maybe, or crucifixes. Now there's only dust and shapes where the paint is cleaner. A dozen women sit along the far side of the room, all in the same white gowns, some hunched, some rocking, some staring at spots on the floor as though meaning might reveal itself if they wait long enough. Your motion to an empty seat between a woman with her head shaved so close, her scalp shines like porcelain, and a girl whose fingers tap, tap, tap against her thigh with a rhythm that sounds almost like Morse code. Neither looks at you. Neither expects you to look at them. Eventually, a woman in a grey uniform steps up to the front, her shoes polished but scuffed at the toes. Clipboard, pencil. The badge on her collar reads Therapeutic Officer in crooked stitching. Her face is all angles, like someone chiseled the softness out of it. She calls names, one by one, not with interest, just with the flat efficiency of inventory. When she gets to yours, she pauses a second longer than necessary. You lift your hand, barely. It's enough, she writes. Today's topic is gratitude, she says. The room remains still. No one nods. No one groans. The word just hangs in the air, absurd and sour. Gratitude, as if this place with its nails and straps and trays of paste were a cradle for anything but survival. A woman across the room speaks first. I'm grateful for my teeth, she says. Her voice is clear, almost too loud, like she remembers what it meant to speak to be heard. They're still mine. She smiles to prove it. Her gums are red. The smile fades. Another woman says she's grateful the rats in the yard don't come inside. She says this without blinking. One by one, voices rise, some real, some mechanical. I'm grateful they let me keep my comb. I'm grateful I don't dream anymore. I'm grateful they stopped trying to talk to me. The girl beside you says nothing. She just keeps tapping. When the grey woman looks at you, you think about lying, saying you're grateful for the food or the cot or the quiet. But something in your throat turns to iron. You shake your head. The woman nods, writes. Afterward, you're dismissed without fanfare. Herded back down the hallway in a slow, staggered line. The girl who tapped her fingers starts humming something tuneless, and the shaved woman begins to walk faster, muttering to herself about shoes, about moths, about a train that never comes. You reach your door. You go inside. The nurse doesn't wait for you to sit. She shuts the door. The bolt clicks like punctuation. The room is the same, always the same. The bed has been made with a new sheet, one corner crooked. A tray sits on the floor, same bowl, same cup. The water smells faintly of tin. You don't touch it. Not yet. You sit on the floor beside the wall, pull the blanket around your shoulders, and rest your forehead against the cool plaster. You count your breath. You try to remember how many days it's been. You try to remember if you've bled. You try to remember your child's face, not the shape of it, but the way it moved when they dreamed. The crying from earlier has stopped. Or maybe it's still going, but you've tuned it out. There's a drip now, somewhere above, near the ceiling, steady, rhythmless. One drop every few seconds. A stain beginning to form just beneath it, brown spreading into yellow, the slow language of rot. You stare at it for a long time. You don't know what time it is, only that it's later than before, that the light in the window has dulled into a deeper kind of grey, not yet black, but something low and murky, like the inside of a cold stone. You've been lying on the bed too long, but you're afraid to move because every time you do, you remember too much. Your body pressing against the leather straps, the way the buckle at your chest made breathing feel like confession. The small tremors in your legs from being held in place for too long, like even your muscles forgot what motion was. The blanket over you itches more with each passing hour, and you keep pulling it tighter anyway, as if it might hold something inside you together, as if pressing your knees to your chest could stop the air from feeling like a stranger in your lungs. There are no sounds in the hallway now, no trays, no boots, no sobbing, just the long hum of silence that creeps under the door and spreads across the floor like mist. It's the kind of silence that invites thoughts you don't want to have, that whispers things into the back of your skull like, how long have I been here? And what part of me did I lose when I stopped asking? At some point, you drift not asleep, not quite awake, your body curved like punctuation around nothing. You dream of a room with wallpaper. You dream of yellow flowers. You dream of holding something soft and warm and breathing against your chest. And then you hear it, a sound, a whisper, too close to be imagined. At first you think it's part of the dream. Then it repeats. Are you awake? It says. A woman's voice, thin, dry, careful. You lift your head slowly. The voice isn't in the room. It's through the wall. Behind your bed. Too clear to be a hallucination. Too steady. I heard them bring you back. They always forget how hard the first time is. You sit up a little, but don't speak. Your throat is dry. Your lips feel cracked. You think if you answer, the sound will alert someone, that the voice will vanish like the rest of your name. But the woman doesn't stop. They'll be gentler now, she says. Not kind, just quieter. That's when they start asking questions. But they're not real questions. Don't forget that. Her words have a rhythm, like someone who's repeated them before or rehearsed them in the dark for years. You manage to find your voice, not strong, not certain, but there. Who are you? You ask. The silence after that is long, then softly, someone who remembers. You wait. She doesn't explain. The silence sits between you like breath you can't exhale. Then she speaks again, but differently, now less like a person, more like a recording. There are women who've been here longer than I've been alive. One thinks she's 17. One thinks she's dead. One hasn't spoken in 9 years, not even when they broke her wrist by accident. She just looked at them, like she was already somewhere else. Her words fill the room like steam, invisible and everywhere. You glance at the door, at the tray, at the walls that have started to feel less like barriers and more like skin. She goes on. There's no calendar. Don't try to count days. They'll confuse you on purpose. You'll think it's Thursday, and they'll say it's Sunday. You'll think it's morning, and it'll be midnight. That's part of it. You listen, afraid to move, afraid she'll stop. They came for me at night once, took me down the back hall, said it was an experiment. I don't remember all of it. Just the noise. And afterwards, the light never looked the same. You're shaking. You hadn't realized until now. Your hands are in fists, the blanket twisted. The air feels heavier, like someone is standing just outside the door, waiting to see if you react. They say I refused food, she continues. They wrote that I screamed at the nurses, that I tried to hurt myself. None of it was true. But once it's written, it stays. You whisper, barely audible. Why are you telling me this? A pause, then, because if you're still asking, it means you're not gone yet. You want to cry. Not because of what she said, but because her voice is the first human voice that has spoken to you like you matter since you arrived. Not observed, not instructed, just spoken. You lean back slowly against the wall. Your body aches in places it shouldn't. You close your eyes. You try to hold her words in your hands, press them into your palms like they're seeds you can bury somewhere inside you for later. The room feels different now. Not better, not safer, but less hollow. Like you're not the last person in the world who remembers their own name. A floorboard groans in the hallway. The woman stops speaking. You lie down, pull the blanket over your shoulders, and keep your eyes open even after the dark deepens. You wake up with your face stuck to the mattress. Not metaphorically, actually stuck. There's a sour patch of drool that's gone tacky against the straw ticking, and it takes a good breath and a sharp pull to get your cheek unstuck. Your neck aches from the way you must have twisted yourself in the night, curled up like you were trying to vanish into the wall. It's still dark, or dim, or something in between. You've stopped trying to guess the hour by the light in this place because it doesn't really change. Just fades from grey to greyer and then back again. The window high above the floor is coated in dust and prison grime. You could stand on the chair and try to scrape it clean with your sleeve, but that would require caring what's beyond it. And you don't, not anymore. They don't knock. Of course they don't. The door swings open and your eyes go to the floor out of habit. You're not sure when that started, maybe yesterday, maybe earlier. But it's automatic now. You don't look them in the eye unless they ask you to. And even then, only for a second. It's safer that way. You pull on your gown while they stand in the doorway, watching. The ties at the back are twisted and frayed. You gave up trying to knot them days ago. Not that anyone here minds. Today is different, though. You can tell by the way the nurse says group therapy, like it means something. Like you're supposed to nod or thank her for the opportunity. But you don't do either. You follow. Out the door. Into the hallway that smells like boiled cabbage and something chalky underneath, like plaster dust and antiseptic. The floorboards groan under your feet, the same ones that groan under everybody's. No one speaks. That's the rule, even if you could remember how. The room they bring you to is long and low-ceilinged, with benches nailed to the floor and a smell that's harder to place. Something between sweat and old cloth and the kind of soap that never completely rinses out. There are 11 women already seated, all in the same white gown as you, all with the same posture, hands folded, backs bowed, eyes fixed on the floor or the wall or nowhere at all. You sit on the empty bench. You make yourself small. A woman walks in with a clipboard and a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She's young, but her face already has that permanent crinkle between the brows that says she's been here too long. Her name tag says E. Doran. She says today you're going to talk about progress. Progress, she says again, slower, like it's a new word, and we should all be honored to hear it. You don't laugh. No one does. She goes down the row asking how everyone is feeling. One woman says she's grateful to be back on solids. Another says nothing, just stares. When Doran gets to you, you nod once. That's enough. She marks it, a tick. A line, who knows? Then comes the exercise. She passes around cards with little pictures on them. Smiling faces, frowns, a sun, a storm cloud. You're supposed to point to how you feel. You don't point to anything. You keep your hands in your lap. Eventually, she moves on. After that, you're led to the sewing room. They call it occupational training. But no one's training you for anything. You're handed a square of linen, a needle with the tip dulled for safety, and a skein of blue thread. You don't ask what you're supposed to sew. You don't ask anything. You push the needle through the cloth and pull the thread again and again. You don't make a pattern. You just make loops. Messy ones. The woman across from you is making a house, or maybe a tree. She's good, too good. Her hands move like they remember something. Yours don't remember anything except how to stay still. At some point, someone offers you a boiled potato. No butter, no salt, just heat and texture. You eat it with your hands. That's allowed. No forks in this part of the building. After the sewing, it's time for garden air. That's what they call it. A walk outside, 10 minutes. Maybe 12 if the nurses are in a good mood. The yard is the color of ash. Dirt that never grows anything. Dead hedges. Bent fencing. A single tree with no leaves. You walk in a circle while a man with a clipboard watches. You wonder if he's the same man who watched you yesterday. You wonder if he ever blinks. The women beside you don't talk. Their feet scuff the ground. One coughs into her sleeve and keeps walking. No one breaks the line. When the bell rings, you're herded back inside. The halls feel tighter after being outside, even if you were only out for minutes. Even if the air was no better than inside. Your chest feels heavy, not sick, just full of something that won't move. Back in your room, your tray is gone, replaced with a cup of something warm and sweet. Milk, maybe, or something pretending to be. You drink it because it's there, because it fills the minutes. That night you sit on the bed and stare at your hands. The thread stains are still there, faint blue lines under your nails. You think about asking for a pencil. You think about writing something down. But there's nothing to write except what already lives in your mouth. Yes, no, better, quiet. Before lights out, someone slips a folded scrap of paper under your door. You wait a long time before you pick it up. There's only one sentence written in faint pencil. Speak when spoken to. No name, no handwriting you recognize. You don't hide it, you don't throw it away. You hold it in your hand until the words blur. And then you sleep. Or something like it. You wake because the light in the hallway has changed, not brighter, but a different kind of dull. The kind that feels like something sour has crept under the door and started to thicken in the corners of the room. You have no idea what time it is. There are no clocks in this part of the building, no schedule announced out loud, no bells. Time shifts only by the color of the walls and the sound of shoes. Sometimes footsteps move slowly and heavily, and you know it's night staff. Sometimes they come sharp and clipped, the kind that stop at doors and take people with them. You've started to tell the difference. This morning, or what might be morning, no one is coming for you. Not yet. You're sitting in the corner, back against the wall, knees pulled to your chest, arms wrapped around your legs like you're trying to become smaller than your name. The tray is on the floor in front of you. Porridge again, thinner than yesterday. No spoon. You eat with 2 fingers and wipe them on your gown without thinking. Not because you don't care, because everyone does it. Or at least, everyone who gets to this part. After the food, if you can call it that, the door opens and you're told to go. That's all. No reason, no explanation, just go. The corridor smells like bleach and something underneath it, something like wet cloth and iron. The further they take you from the dining ward, the more it smells like metal. Not blood, not rust, just metal, the kind that's used to close things, to pin things down. You follow the nurse because there's nothing else to do. She's not holding your arm, but she doesn't need to. She walks just fast enough to make you feel like lagging behind is dangerous. You're not led to group, or to therapy, or to a walk. You're led to the office. Someone says the word like it's holy, like you should be thankful. You don't speak. Not because you're afraid, because asking anything here is like spitting into a bottle. It doesn't land anywhere. The room is too white, ceiling too low, the chair too smooth from all the backs that have leaned against it. The man on the other side of the desk is clean-shaven, thin, precise. His hands are pink at the knuckles. No ring. His suit is stiff. He doesn't look at you, just opens the folder and asks if you know where you are. You nod. It doesn't matter whether it's true. Then he asks whether you think your condition has improved. You pause, not because you're trying to decide, but because you don't know what he means by condition, what you came in with, or what they gave you after. He makes a note. His writing is tired. He asks what you would do if released. The word released doesn't hit you like it should. It feels too big, too clean. You answer, live. He looks at you, not into you, just at you, and nods. Then he says, that's enough. He leaves first. You stay sitting. No one tells you it's time to go. Later, a nurse returns, the same one from earlier. She says, back. That's it. You walk. On the way, someone is crying. Not screaming, not wailing. Just crying like they've been trying to hold it back all morning. You hear it through one of the doors, the small, even kind of crying that doesn't ask for help, just asks to keep going. You don't slow down. You don't look. You get back to your room, and there's a folded piece of paper under your pillow. No envelope, no name. One word, written in dull pencil. Quieter. You don't ask who left it. You don't rip it up. You don't memorize it either. You just slide it under the mattress next to the other one. You think there's another one. You don't remember what it said. You lie on the bed for a while, shoes still on, legs crossed at the ankle, hands over your stomach like something inside you might move if you don't hold it down. You stay like that until the hallway light changes again. Dimmer now, closer to night. Someone walks past. Someone stops. The latch on the door clicks once, but nothing opens. You sit up, move to the corner, tuck yourself into the wall like it's made for you. The paint is cool. The floor is dusty under your fingers. You think just for a second about saying your own name out loud, but your mouth stays closed. Not from fear, not from training. Just because it doesn't occur to you how that would help anything. You wait in the corner until the sound of the hallway is gone. After that, it doesn't matter whether your eyes are open or closed. You wake with a dry mouth and the taste of something bitter at the back of your throat. Like medicine that wasn't swallowed properly, or words that got halfway out before being crushed back down. You sit up slowly, knees first, spine next, like unfolding furniture that hasn't been used in a long time. The blanket slides off your shoulder and takes what little warmth there was with it. You listen. No tray, no footsteps, no keys. That's the first thing you notice. The silence isn't the usual kind. It's thicker, more deliberate. Not the silence of early morning, but the silence of waiting for something to start and realizing maybe it already did. You pull on your gown. The one from yesterday. It still smells like your sweat, which is somehow more comforting than the ones that smell like soap. You go to the door. You wait. You pace once, twice. You sit on the edge of the bed with your arms folded. The tray arrives later than usual. No knock, just the clatter and slide of tin. When you go to pick it up, there's nothing different about it. Same bowl, same cup, same crust. But there's no note, not that you expect one. Still, you check under the plate like you did yesterday. Habit. You eat without tasting. You drink because it's warm. You wait. No one comes. No one opens the door. No one says your name. When you knock once, just to check, just to confirm something still connects your room to the world, no one answers. You sit back down and start counting the floorboards again, the ones you can see, the ones that creak, the ones that don't. You try to remember how many there were yesterday. You get lost by the fourth count. At some point you lie back down, not to sleep, just to not sit. You hear someone screaming, but it's distant and soft, like someone screaming into their own hands, and it doesn't stop for a long time. Then there's nothing again. Hours pass, or something that feels like hours. Your stomach doesn't growl anymore, it just feels heavy and tight, and then not at all. You drink the water left in the cup, even though it's warm and stale and slightly bitter. You press your head to the wall where the voice used to speak from. The woman. The one who said she'd been here 11 years. She hasn't spoken since. You wonder if she's gone, or if someone told her to stop, or if she wasn't real at all. You think about knocking back. You think about tapping. You think about spelling your name with your knuckles, but the thought of your name feels like holding a piece of glass. Too smooth. Too sharp. You hear people walk past your door, but no one opens it. Once the latch shifts, but no one enters. You sit in the corner, in the dark part of the room, where the light doesn't reach, and you let your hands go numb. You don't do it on purpose, but you don't stop it either. You let them go heavy and quiet in your lap, like small animals waiting to be told what to do. There's no therapy today, no sewing, no bench, no courtyard, no voice through the wall, just the air, the way it thickens in the afternoon and then thins again after dark. At some point, when you think it might be late, a nurse comes in. She doesn't speak. She puts a clean gown on the end of the bed and a folded towel. Then she leaves. You look at the towel like it might have meaning. You unfold it. It's just a towel, damp at the edges, still warm from wherever it came from. You sit with it on your lap for a long time before finally dropping it to the floor. When the light disappears from the window completely, when even the shape of the ceiling starts to blend with the shadows, you lie down again and pull the blanket over your legs, not because you're cold, but because it gives you something to do with your hands. You stare at the door until your eyes blur. You listen for voices. You listen for anything. You think about saying something out loud. Just a word, any word. Just to remind yourself you still can. But when you open your mouth, nothing comes. You wake up from nothing, not a dream, not a sound, not a thought. Just the return of sensation, the heaviness of your own limbs, the chill in your jaw, the distant stiffness in your fingers from sleeping too still. You don't remember lying down. You don't remember the moment your body gave in, only that now you're here, on the mattress, one foot still hanging off the edge, one arm curled underneath you in a way that's left the hand tingling and bloodless. You flex it until feeling stings its way back in. There's a tray on the floor near the door. You didn't hear it arrive, you never do. There's a smear of something pale and wet across the tin, as if whoever placed it there had dirty hands or didn't care. You crawl toward it. Not dramatically, not as ritual, just because it's the next thing. The cup is chipped again. You drink anyway, you eat the bread. You ignore the grey mush today, you don't even lift the spoon. It smells metallic and warm, like it's been sitting out too long, like it came from a bucket rather than a pot. You go to the corner of the room again, the one where the light doesn't quite reach, and sit. That's where you wait. You listen. It's quiet today. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that usually means observation. They don't always tell you when they're watching. Sometimes they change things slightly to see if you notice, switch the position of the bedding, fold your gown differently, leave a towel with frayed edges instead of straight. You've stopped reacting to any of it. You look straight ahead. You hold your hands still. You don't give them anything. Later they come for you. Not the usual nurse. A man you don't recognize. His coat is clean, pressed at the seams, but his shoes are scuffed at the toes, like he drags them when he walks. He tells you you're going to the interview room. He says it like it's routine. You follow. The hallway smells like soap again, not fresh but old, clinging to the walls like rot in linen. Someone passes the other direction. You don't look up, but you feel them looking. In the room, the man with the folder waits. Not the one from before, a different one, thicker hands, round face, glasses that slide down his nose. He gestures for you to sit. You sit. You watch the way he thumbs through your file. The pages are creased near the middle. They've been handled. They've been talked over. He glances up, then down again. He asks you how you feel. You say, "I'm fine." He asks if you've had any incidents. You say, "No." He asks if you remember the date. You don't answer. You don't lie. You just let the question hang. He makes a mark. He says something about a possible discharge, but his tone says it's not certain, maybe not even close. Just a word, a test balloon. He asks what you would do if allowed to leave. You think about it too long. Then you say, "Rest." He looks at you, and this time it's longer. Not a stare, not a challenge. Just the way someone looks at a photograph they've already seen before, but can't remember where. He asks what rest would look like. You don't know. You don't pretend to. You don't answer. He nods, writes something, closes the folder. The interview ends without instruction. Someone comes in and leads you out, not back to your room, to the women's dormitory. You haven't been here before. There are 4 cots, all made, all identical. There are women sitting upright on the beds. 2 of them look at you. One smiles. It's too wide. The 4th bed is empty. You're told this is your new room. You're told you've made progress. You say nothing. You sit on the edge of the cot. The mattress is thinner than yours was. The blanket is rougher. The walls are yellow here, faintly. Not paint, just the way age settles into corners. The light is softer. Someone coughs. Someone hums. Someone whispers into her knees. There is no talking aloud. That rule hasn't changed. But here, they don't listen as closely. Or maybe they're testing you again. At night it's darker, no window, only a dim bulb in the hall bleeding through the gap under the door. You lie still. You try not to breathe too loud. The woman in the bed beside yours keeps shifting in her sleep, muttering nonsense numbers maybe. A name. You stare at the ceiling. There's a stain there shaped like a wing. You trace it with your eyes until you forget what shape it was. You think about leaving. Not as a fantasy. As a fact, a potential, but you can't picture what door you'd walk out of. You can't picture your hands on the knob. You can't picture the sound of your feet on ground that isn't this floor. You can't picture anyone's face waiting on the other side. You close your eyes and try to remember the sound of your own voice when no one's listening. You wake up earlier than usual, not because someone calls your name or touches your shoulder, but because the room is too quiet and your body feels wrong in the blanket. Like it's been wrapped too many times and none of the edges line up anymore. You're not in your old room, you remember that much. You're still in the dormitory. The ceiling here is lower. The other women are breathing in their sleep. One of them mutters something you can't make out. One is already sitting up, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the wall. You don't know her name. You don't think she knows yours. You rise without making noise. The floor is colder than you remember. Maybe it's the same floor, maybe not. The tray arrives without a knock. It's slid in through the slot in the door, and you don't rush to get it. You already know what's on it. The porridge is thicker this morning. The crust of bread has a darker edge, like it was toasted too long, or maybe sat out overnight. You eat with your hands again. You don't look at the others. One of them hasn't moved. The nurse comes soon after, not one you've seen before. Her uniform is stiff, newly pressed. She says your name. That's new. She says it like a question. You nod. She makes a note on her clipboard and then turns and walks away, expecting you to follow. You do. The hallway is quieter today, cleaner. It smells like fresh soap, something floral and wrong for this place, like someone tried to cover something up instead of remove it. You pass through 2 doors you've never gone through before. There are windows here, narrow and barred, but still windows. And outside you see something that could be a hedge or a tree. Bare branches, shaking a little in the wind. It looks alive in a way you haven't seen in weeks or months. You're led into a room with armchairs, real ones. Upholstered, even if the fabric is faded. There are books on a shelf. No one says what they are. A man is sitting behind a desk. Not the man from the last interview. Another one, younger. His hair is too neat. His shirt is too white. He smiles when you enter. It doesn't reach his eyes. You're told to sit. The chair is softer than the others. You don't lean back. He opens a folder and flips a few pages without really reading them. Then he says, "We're pleased with your adjustment." You blink. He says there may be an opportunity for early transition. He uses that word instead of discharge. Transition, like you're moving from one form into another, not from a locked room back into air. He asks, if that were the case, what would you need? You don't know how to answer that. You don't know what you're allowed to say. You want to say, a door, a coat, my name. But instead you say, nothing. He writes that down, then he tells you you'll be moved again. You nod. That seems to be what's expected. The room feels too large when you stand. You're taken to another wing. The floors are newer here, less groaning. The air smells like paint. You don't know if that's good or bad. There's a room with a single bed, a closet, a chair, a window without bars. You don't touch anything. You don't speak. The nurse tells you this is temporary. She doesn't say what that means. You sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress is thick. The sheets are white. Too white, like they haven't been used yet. You fold your hands and stare at the floor. You wait for someone to tell you what to do next. No one does. After a while, you lie down. You pull the blanket up. It smells like bleach and linen. You listen for footsteps in the hallway. You don't hear any. You close your eyes and try to remember the shape of the hallway outside your old cell. The one with the broken floorboard, the spot in the corner where the paint peeled back just enough to feel real. You can't remember what that paint looked like. You can't remember what your voice sounds like in a room this quiet. You sleep. You think you sleep. You wake hours later and it's still light out. The sky is blue, pale, washed out blue, but real. You haven't seen that color since the day they brought you here. You stand, you walk to the window. There's a courtyard below, a bench, a small patch of grass, someone sitting with their back to you. You don't know if they're real. You touch the glass. It's cold. Your reflection looks wrong. Your face is thinner. Your eyes are duller. Your hair doesn't fall the way it used to. You turn away from the window. You sit back down. You wait. You think about the word transition again. You think about how no one asked if you wanted it. You think about how maybe the only real difference between a room and a cage is whether or not they tell you it's a reward. You wake slowly, not from a sound, not from a voice, just from a shift in the way the air touches your skin, the way the light falls differently through the window. Your eyes open without urgency. The ceiling is clean here, no cracks, no stain to trace with your eyes until it becomes something else. The bed is still beneath you, unfamiliar in its softness, too clean, too unmarked by the weight of bodies that came before. You sit up and feel your bones move like they haven't been asked to in years. You rub your eyes, your fingers smell faintly like soap. Not hospital soap, but something floral. It's wrong in your nose. The tray is on the desk this time, not on the floor. You didn't hear it arrive. It has eggs, toast, tea, a fork. You pick it up like it might vanish when touched. You eat. It tastes like something. Not like memory, but like structure. The tea is warm. You sip slowly, not because it's hot, but because you want it to last longer than the moment it's gone. When you're done, you sit for a while with the empty cup in your hands and wait for something to happen. No one comes. No one knocks. No one checks. The silence isn't comforting. It's just space. A wide space between what was and what comes next. Eventually you go to the window. Outside, the bench is still there. The tree is still there. The person isn't. You don't know if they were ever real. You stand there too long, then you turn away and walk the perimeter of the room like you used to walk the hallway counting steps, not for meaning, just for rhythm. 6 to the far wall, 5 to the door, 3 to the chair. You walk the circuit again and again until the muscles in your legs remember how to flex. Then you sit. Hours pass. Or something like hours. You hear nothing but yourself. Eventually there's a knock. A woman enters. She's dressed in clothes that aren't a uniform. She says she's a visitor, that you've been approved for visitation. You don't understand what that means. She doesn't tell you. She asks if you'd like to sit outside with her. You nod. You're taken out the side door, no cuffs, no guards, just her and you, and the sound of gravel under your feet. The courtyard is real. The bench is real. The air is colder than it looked. You sit beside her. She pulls out a notebook. She doesn't open it. She says her name. You forget it immediately. She says she's here to ask how you're adjusting. You don't answer. She doesn't push. She asks what you do all day. You say you walk. She asks if you speak to anyone. You say no. She writes something. You watch her hand move. She asks what you remember before the transfer. You say you remember the color of the wall. She writes that down too. She says you'll be moved again, maybe soon. That this is the last stage. She doesn't say of what. You don't ask. She leaves. You're returned to the room. The sheets have been changed while you were gone. You notice because the corner is folded differently. You sit on the bed. You pick at a loose thread on the pillowcase. It breaks. You hide the end under the seam. You lie down but don't sleep. You breathe slowly, evenly, the way they taught in group but never enforced. You count your heartbeat. You stop counting. You close your eyes. When you wake, it's darker. The teacup is gone. The tray is gone. You sit up again. You stand. You go to the mirror and look at your face. You don't recognize what's changed, but something has. Your mouth looks smaller. Your hair is flatter. You press your fingers to your own cheek like you're checking for temperature. You feel nothing. You lie down again and watch the shadows on the ceiling. You think about the voice that used to speak through the wall, the woman who whispered about numbers and years. You wonder if she was real. You wonder if this is. You stay still until your back hurts, then you shift. Then you wait. You wake before they knock, not because of a sound, but because of the way the light settles on the floor low and stretched, thin like it had to crawl through something to reach you. Your back is already sore from the mattress, not because it's bad, but because it's soft in the wrong places. You sit up and listen. Nothing outside. You're not even sure if they'll come today. You walk to the window and rest your forehead against the glass. It's cool, not cold, not fogged, not dirty. Just smooth. You look at the tree again, the same one. Bare. Still. The bench is empty. For a moment, you try to picture someone sitting on it. You can't. You don't even try very hard. When the knock finally comes, it's quiet. 2 taps, not rushed. A woman stands there you don't recognize. She says good morning. That's new. She holds a folder and calls you by your full name. That's newer. You step back and let her in. She tells you you're scheduled for final evaluation. Her tone is pleasant, not kind. She gestures for you to follow. You go. You're brought through the hall that smells faintly like lemon and something like chalk. You know now which floorboards creak. You know who avoids them. You hear them speaking softly in one of the offices. You don't catch words, only tones. Paper moving, a cough. You're brought to the same room from before. The one with the desk and the chair and the clean carpet that feels strange under your shoes. He's there again. The man with the narrow glasses, the one who asked you if you knew what you'd do if released. He smiles this time. That's different. You sit when they point. You wait. He opens the folder slowly, like it might react. Then he says it. You've come a long way. He doesn't say from where. He doesn't ask if you agree. He tells you they're considering your transition, that the behavior team has noted steady compliance, that you've shown insight, that your file no longer contains red flags, that your last group session was positive, that you've used language appropriately, that you've maintained a regulated tone, that you have not resisted routine, that you are suitable for release. The words fall flat in the room. They don't land anywhere. You nod when you're supposed to. He asks what freedom means to you. You say, less noise. He writes that down. He says the final review will be done tomorrow. He says there may be placement options. He says reintegration support is available. He says it all very slowly. You don't interrupt. You're not sure if your voice would come out steady. You're taken back to the room. No nurse this time, just a different woman. You don't remember seeing her before, but she knows the code for the door. You hear it beep. The room is the same. The cup is clean. There's warm broth in it. You drink it standing. You don't sit for a while. You walk instead. 7 steps to the dresser, 4 to the closet, 6 to the bed. You say each number in your head but not out loud. You picture what tomorrow might look like. You try to imagine the space beyond the front doors, the road, the sky, the color of it. You try to imagine sound that isn't footsteps or trays or hinges. You can't. You try anyway. You sit at the desk. You pick up the pencil. You write your name once. The lead breaks. You put it down. The paper stays blank except for that one curved word that looks both familiar and foreign. Your own name, slightly crooked, like someone else wrote it while trying to imitate your hand. You stare at it. You don't add anything. When the light fades outside, you lie down. You don't pull the blanket up right away. You stare at the ceiling and let your arms rest at your sides like you're waiting for instruction. The room is quiet. You think maybe the quiet is worse now than it was in the early days. Back then, the silence was survival. Now it just stretches. You breathe evenly. You count the seconds between breath and thought. You let the thought win. You imagine what will happen when the door opens. You imagine walking through it. You imagine the sun on your skin. You imagine someone asking you, how long were you in there? And you have no answer. Because you stopped counting, and you don't know if they ever started. They wake you earlier than usual. There's no breakfast waiting, no tea, just a woman at the door with a clipboard and a blue folder and the kind of expression that's supposed to be reassuring, but comes off flat and used up. She says your name. Says it slowly. Says it like she practiced it outside the door. You nod. You step out into the hallway and realize you're wearing your shoes. You don't remember putting them on. The corridor is quiet, cleaner than usual. The lights are already on. The air smells like new soap and something colder underneath, like fresh paint or disinfectant still clinging to the edges of the walls. You're taken through a part of the building you haven't seen before. The floor tiles are different, paler, less scuffed. You hear someone laughing behind a closed door, but the sound cuts off too fast to be real. You pass 3 doors before they stop you. The woman checks her folder, nods to someone down the hall. A second woman opens the door. This one wears civilian clothes, a soft sweater, hair brushed, face clean. But her eyes are trained like a nurse's, quick, shallow, always measuring. She tells you to come in. You do. The room is staged like a living room, couch, rug, a window with a view of a tree and a gravel path. You can see sky, blue, too soft. The couch smells like fabric softener. Not real softness, but the chemical kind that lingers in old laundry. She tells you to sit. You do. She takes a seat across from you, not behind a desk, not above you, just there, like she's trying to be eye level. She crosses her legs and rests her hands on her knees and says, "You've completed your treatment cycle." Her voice is practiced, measured, gentle in the way you speak to animals or children. You don't answer. She tells you you've been approved for conditional release. She says there's a facility outside the city, a halfway house, with structure, with check-ins, with opportunity. She says the word opportunity like it's supposed to taste good, like you should thank her for it. You stare at her mouth. You nod when she stops talking. That seems to be the safest thing. She asks if you understand. You nod again. She hands you a bag. Inside are clothes, not yours. A plain shirt, pants, undergarments, all clean, all folded too precisely. There's a coat, thin, light grey. It still has a tag inside. She tells you you'll be transported in 1 hour, that someone will walk with you to the gate, that your personal items have been stored. You think of your personal items. You can't name any. She hands you a piece of paper with an address on it. She tells you to memorize it. You look at it. You nod. She tells you there's a room waiting for you, that someone will meet you at the door, that you'll be helped, that you're not alone. You don't respond to that one. She stands. The meeting is over. You're escorted back to your room. Not your old one, the new one. The one with the window and the clean pillowcase and the mirror. The clothes are left on the chair. You change slowly. You notice how quiet the fabric is, how soft the socks feel on your feet. You look at yourself in the mirror and try not to focus on your eyes. You sit on the bed. You wait. You look around the room like you're trying to remember how many times you've sat exactly like this. How many rooms there have been. How many walls have watched you get dressed. How many doors you've walked through without being sure who was waiting on the other side. When the knock comes, it's soft. The nurse looks different today. Her hair is down, her eyes look smaller. She says it's time. You follow her. The hallway looks longer than it did this morning. You see a man standing at the end with a clipboard. Of course, you don't speak. You walk beside her. She opens the door. Outside, it's bright. The air hits your face all at once. Cold, fresh, and too wide. You squint. You don't step out right away. Your body doesn't remember how to move through space this open. The ground feels uneven. The gravel shifts under your weight. You don't fall. You just stop. You hear birds, real ones. You don't know the names of them. Someone calls your name again. Not a command, just to check if you're still with them. You nod, you keep walking. There's a gate ahead, a car, a woman holding a clipboard, another paper. You don't look at it. You get in the car. You don't ask where it's going. You just close your hands in your lap and breathe slow. The window beside you is clean. You see trees, a road, a power line, a sign. You read it, but it doesn't stay. You lean your head against the window and feel the vibration of the wheels. You think this is it, but you don't know what it is. You don't feel released. You don't feel whole. You don't feel like anything. You just feel the glass against your forehead and the warmth in your hands and the pressure behind your eyes that doesn't go away even when the facility disappears in the rear view. The car stops in front of a building that looks like every other house on the street, which makes it worse somehow, because you thought it would feel different when you got here. You thought the air would shift, or the trees would look at you differently, or the sidewalk would crack a certain way under your feet and say, "This is where it starts, this is where it changes." But it doesn't. It's just a house. 2 stories, chipped red bricks, a pale blue door with a dent near the knob, the kind of entrance that looks like it's been hit too many times by the bottom of someone's bag. The woman who drove you says nothing. She parks, she steps out, she walks around and opens your door like you're not capable of doing it yourself, and you wonder if maybe you're not. You get out slowly, shoes scuffing the curb, and for a second the breeze catches your coat just enough to remind you that you're wearing something real, that the fabric is yours even if it doesn't feel like it. She gestures toward the door. You walk. The stone path leading up is uneven and cracked, moss in the joints, a candy wrapper folded into the dirt. She rings the bell and steps back like she's not part of the rest. A woman answers, middle-aged, maybe older, eyes tired, skin slack like someone who gave up trying to explain things a long time ago. She holds a clipboard and says your name. She doesn't wait for confirmation. She just steps aside and says, "Come in." The hallway is narrow and smells like something between bleach and laundry, warm but flat. There's a brown runner along the floor and old photographs on the wall. Black and white portraits of buildings, bridges, a child with a dog. No names, just frames. You're led up a staircase that creaks exactly once on the 4th step. At the top, she turns right. You follow. There are 3 closed doors. One is yours. She opens it without knocking and tells you you'll be in this room for now. She says dinner is at 6. That the bathroom is at the end of the hall. That lights out is your own choice, but quiet time starts at 10. That there's a clipboard in the kitchen with a schedule and someone will talk to you tomorrow. Then she leaves. You're alone. The room is small but warmer than it looks. There's a bed against the wall with a beige blanket and a pillow so square it looks staged. A wooden dresser with 3 drawers. A window that faces the brick wall of the next building. A chair. A lamp, nothing else, no clock, no mirror, no lock. You sit on the bed and bounce slightly from the springs. It feels unstable. You take off your coat and fold it across the chair, the motion slow and awkward, like dressing someone else in reverse. You don't unpack. There's nothing to unpack. You lie down, not because you're tired, but because your legs don't know what else to do. The ceiling has a small water stain near the corner, brown and feathered like the outline of a continent. You stare at it until your eyes blur. You don't remember falling asleep. When you wake, it's darker. The room has taken on that soft weight it gets when light starts fading and your body can't tell if it should move or disappear. You sit up. You touch the floor with your feet. It's warm. Somewhere in the house, a pan clinks against something metal. A voice. Laughter. Music low from a radio, static underneath. You don't go downstairs. You stay on the bed until the sky outside turns the kind of blue that means it's almost time for someone to ask you something. But no one does. You eventually get up and walk to the window. The glass is cool. The view is nothing. Bricks, dust, a pipe. You try to imagine what it would be like to walk out the front door by yourself, to take steps that don't belong to any routine. You can't. You think about asking where the towels are. You think about brushing your teeth. You think about opening one of the dresser drawers, but you don't move. You sit back down and pull the blanket over your knees and wait for the noise downstairs to change. It doesn't. Someone plays a card game. Someone hums. A chair scrapes. You listen. You don't go. You wake without knowing whether you were asleep, eyes already open to the dull grey of the ceiling, hands tucked under the blanket like you forgot they were yours. The room is warm in the way rooms get when you've been in them too long, when your own body starts changing the temperature, not because of motion, but because of repetition. You sit up slowly. You look around. Everything is where you left it. The chair with the coat folded over the back. The dresser drawer slightly open from where you didn't close it all the way last night. The schedule taped to the wall with nothing circled. There's no knock today. You dress anyway. You wash your face. You dry it with the same towel. You walk down the stairs at the same time as yesterday. You pass the woman from the second room, the one who hums to herself after dinner, who never says hello but always glances sideways when you pass. She doesn't today. You don't either. You pour a cup of tea. You sit at the corner of the table. You stir it even though there's nothing in it. The toast is cold by the time you eat it. You hear someone in the back room coughing. You finish eating. You put your dishes in the sink. You go for a walk. Not because it's scheduled, but because you've been doing it. Your body leads. You turn the same corners, pause at the same cracked sidewalk, past the same yellow door with the chipped paint and the tiny ceramic dog in the window. You stop once, just to see what happens when you stop. Nothing happens. You keep going. It's cold, but not sharp. The sky is flat white. You pull your sleeves down over your hands. You don't check the time. You return before lunch. Someone left a note on your door that just says, meeting. You fold it once more, then slide it into your pocket. You sit on the bed. You close your eyes. You don't sleep. You go to the meeting room when the clock says 2. The chairs are the same. The table is clean. A woman is already there, younger than most. She asks if you've made progress. You don't answer. She waits. She writes. She asks if you feel prepared. You say, for what? She doesn't clarify. You nod. She writes again. You are dismissed. You go back upstairs. You lie down in your clothes. You think about what tomorrow will be. You think about what tonight will not be. You wonder if this is how it ends, or if this is what doesn't. You hear someone laugh downstairs. You hear the kettle whistle. You hear the hum of the radiator at the foot of the bed. You stare at the ceiling until it stops looking like a ceiling and starts looking like memory. You close your eyes. You forget what you were thinking. You breathe. You breathe again.